What's up guys, there it is. Today's review is the Geprc Thinking P16. This is the box. I have the HD version. There's also a version for analog if you want to run that. You have the Cadex Loris option as well. It's a little cheaper than the DJI version here. This is the Cadex Nebula version, and I've got my Vista at the very top right here mounted. It's all ready to go. We're gonna do some flying today. We're gonna try out a little bit of freestyle with it. We're also gonna fly proximity. But what I want to let you guys know is that this is one of the lightest HD experiences that you can get out there right now. You can really get into some tight places with this quad, and we're gonna test out this XM Plus receiver on the back. You can also bind it up to your DJI radio. If you already have a DJI radio, that will be a lot of fun. But today I'm gonna fly it on my new T18. My Geprc T18 is in the house, so I'm testing that for you guys. I'm gonna give a full review on that one coming out very soon, but this little guy weighs under 100 grams without a battery, and we'll put that on the scale. I'll show you how much it weighs right now, and you can see it is extremely light. Also, we're gonna run 500 milliwatt today and 700 milliwatt because you do have those options on here, and we'll give an honest look at the Nebula camera, and we'll talk about how that camera looks. It is a little cheaper if you want to buy that setup. It's around $125 for the Cadex Vista and a Nebula. So I'll try to put a link down below for that kit if you want to put that on another style Whoop. But this is going to get you well over 3 minutes flight time with a 3S 450. That's my battery of choice. So I have a couple of G-Lang ones we're going to test out today, and those work pretty good. If you fly it a little milder, you can probably get well over 4 minutes. And we're going to test out some different size batteries. Now, one mod that I did on mine right away was snapping off the bottom tray here. There was a little tiny sort of battery cage, and I took my snips, snapped it off, and I put a strap down there. So once I have the strap on there, I can run a much larger battery. It looked like they wanted you to run something like a 3S 300 milliamp battery, but honestly, I want to run something a little bigger just because I want a little bit longer flight times. And the biggest battery I'd probably run on here would be something like a 3S, I'd say 550 at the max. You might be able to put a 650 on there, but at that point you're kind of pushing it and you're going to start to feel the battery weight. So great quad for beginners. If you don't see that well, if you need glasses, I always suggest that you go DJI digital version because it looks a lot better in the goggles than analog. So you can just see things a lot better, and you can really get in there with DJI digital video. It's really some 2020 stuff, guys. So we have a dipole on the back here. We have a fairly durable looking frame, 4 bolts on the bottom of each motor. We have little tiny quad props on here. We have 1103 8000 kV motors, and we have an XT30 in the back. I've got a little spot for my XM Plus back here, which is really nice. And up front, we have that Cadex Nebula with plenty of camera protection and a fairly durable top plate canopy right here. The cool thing is it's only 4 bolts, 2 up front, 2 on the sides to release those. And we have the Geprc F4. This is a Maytech F411 firmware on this board. It does have 12 amp ESCs on here, so don't try to run anything more than 3S. 3S is the recommended battery for this little Thinking P16, but what a cool looking little quad. Super excited that this one is here, finally ready for review. I've done my flight test on it, so let's go ahead outside now, guys, and let's have some fun with the P16. Here we go. Another great quad from Geprc, as I expected. Let's go. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get the Thinking P16 up in the air. I have the 3S 450 milliamp battery on there, and it seems to be being pushed around a lot on my first flight. I usually don't bank around the sidewalk that hard. There was quite a bit of wind. You can see that the leaves are blowing in the trees right here. It was blowing probably 15-mile-an-hour wind. It seems like it's a little bit too much for this quad outside, but I was still able to do punch outs and a mild amount of freestyle without having a lot of washout, which is really great news for this quad. So it will do mild freestyle. But let's get into some cruising now, and let's see what kind of lines we can get with this quad. I wanted to try to go around the house too and see how the vista works out with the nebula. I'm able to get back here, really see where things are, and with a little bit of extra wind, got pushed into the air conditioner there, had a crash. Now this is another day where the wind really calmed down a lot, and it's early in the morning, so it's not super bright out, but you can see the nebula it still looks a little bit overblown. The white seemed to be a little too white. There's almost seems to be a little bit of haze in this camera as well, so maybe Cadex will definitely work on that firmware to get it a little more saturated and less bright for you guys. But as far as the performance goes, it's about as expected. I've flown this type of power system a lot. The 3S combo with the 1103 motors, it's the microbrushless sweet spot, and it feels really good. And the cool thing about this is it doesn't feel as heavy as like the Mobula 7 HD did. It doesn't have that sort of hulky feel to it, which is really nice. If you want to do some cinema type stuff, you could also add a little Insta360 Go on this one. It would definitely carry an Insta360 Go. And it's a shame that I didn't get mine on here for you guys, but mostly I wanted you guys today to look at the nebula and see how that works out. And keep in mind, if you don't have DJI goggles, get the Loris version with the 4K. So now I'm up through the trees here. We'll try a little bit of proximity. We'll just go up to this tree here. I'll try to slow it down for you guys and just really get up there in the canopy. Some of my favorite stuff to do is canopy exploration. That really shows you if a quad is a little bit overpowered, or you can back off the throttle and have an extreme amount of control. And that is really good control. And even there's still a little bit of wind today, so tiny bit of wind pushing me around, but I'm really able to go places I can't go with other quads. So that's what these little guys are all about. But it's fantastic to see DJI quality on something this small now. One of the smallest DJI experiences I've ever had. Really cool. But it feels really good on the sticks. It's great in stability mode if you want to do some beginner training, learn how to fly a drone. This would be a fantastic choice for that, like just getting into FPV. Of course, you can also do the analog version and back over that power line. Nice little loop there. No problem. Let's try another flip. That looks good. So not a lot of washout on this quad, which is really impressive. And I feel like I can make it stop on a dime as well. So it has a lot of control. We're going to try some extreme proximity here in a second. I'm going to fly under one of the Priuses out there. I'm going to see if I can make it underneath. And decent punch out. It's about what I'd expect on a 3S battery. And now I'm going to come back over the yard here. Back underneath these Japanese maples. Nice control, low to the ground. I really like it. And I'm averaging about 4 minutes flight time with this battery. I'm going to try this tree right here. I haven't really found any lines through this particular tree. So again, the nebula let me see where I'm going. Looking good. I'm not going to make it under that one, but let's try to make this gap underneath the Prius. These Priuses are really low to the ground. So if I make this, awesome. We made it under, guys. So a really fun quad to fly, and it's one of those ones you want to keep flying. It's just you want to do battery after battery with this quad. So definitely 2 thumbs up for this little P16. It's a lot of fun to fly. I think you guys couldn't go wrong with this one. It's really good. So let's go back and do some final thoughts about the P16. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. So what do you guys think? Put some comments down below and let me know, what do you think about this little guy? First impression, flying it right off the sidewalk for the first time and just kind of cruising across the yard. My first flight, it was really windy. So the first flight that you saw was probably about a 15-mile-an-hour wind, and I was definitely having some issues with the wind. And that is not a surprise, because any type of wind on something this small it's going to give you some pushback on the flight controller, and the flight controller is going to be kind of struggling to make it in that high wind. So you could see the trees blowing when I was trying to do some proximity flying through the trees, but I had to fly quite fast to keep it in control in all that wind. So the next day I was able to fly it in almost zero wind conditions, and it is a dream to fly in those zero wind conditions. It does extremely well. So pick and choose your days. Indoors, this is great. Outdoors, on the calm, windy days, less windy days, it's going to be a really good quad. Very, very smooth going down the street, up and down the street. And I was able to slow it way down because we have the power system on here that is the micro brushless sweet spot. I've talked about this a lot on my channel. The 1103 motors with 3S battery, at this weight and size, this is a really good combo, and it's almost like the perfect storm because not only do we have the perfect power system for this frame size and weight, as well as power ratio, we have also digital video on here, which is just leveling this quad up to the next level. So I think that there probably could be some improvements to the firmware on the Nebula, maybe for brightness contrast adjustments. Maybe you can go inside your DJI goggles and turn down some of that brightness, because the stock setting on it seems to be a little bit high in the brightness department. So we were just going to talk about that right away. Other reviewers have been talking about it, and it is a real thing. So on the really sunny days, the Nebula is going to give you some pretty intense brightness, and it also seems to have a little bit of a haze. So you're going to want to make sure that you clean off your camera lens really well before you fly with your Nebula. I usually do it every time before I take off, and after that I'm pretty good to go. But way up high is where you can see that lightness come into the Nebula. So down low, it looks pretty good down low. So it's only until I go way up high in the sky that I'm starting to see those super brights. So Cadex has a little bit of work to do on their brightness contrast settings for the Nebula, but I'm happy that we have DJI digital in this small format, and I was able to fly it all the way around the house. I made it back after the first time I crashed. The XM Plus receiver did not fail safe, even below the foundation of the house, the concrete, all that rebar in between me and this little guy, it didn't fail safe one time. So other than my silly crash, but it will take a beating. And it came back all in one piece, no cracks. I hit the concrete, crashed on the concrete, I flew it into a car. It took some hits, so I think it's durability-wise, it held up. I was concerned with the two bolts in the very front right here. This is your front plate, but it is flattened out up here, and we have decent camera protection for this little lens. So it looks like it's gonna be a winner in a lot of different departments. So I think this one is definitely one to consider for 2020, with maybe with some of the changes of the Cadex Nebulas. My only drawback right now, but if you have DJI goggles, you can't go wrong with this little guy. It is absolutely awesome. And for you guys that say, oh, Justin, you never review things that you don't like, well, there's a reason for sometimes not seeing a lot of negative reviews. I'm not going to sit here and talk about something negative for 5 minutes. I don't make videos that I'm not like a product that would waste my time and your time. So guys that are watching the channel that are subscribers, yeah, if something is total shite, I'm probably not going to waste my time on it. I'm not going to waste your time. So I'm only bringing you guys the best of the best on this channel 90% of the time. I will have some honest feedback on stuff as well, but that is my 2 cents on that subject. So guys, keep watching the channel for more honest reviews. This one is a banger. It is a home run from Geprc, and we will continue to see upgrades on this Nebula coming up this year because the community is heard by Cadex, and Cadex will listen. So I will see you on the next one, guys. Take care and be safe out there and keep flying. This one is a great quarantine quad, guys. Pick one up at the link down below. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.